I want today to be the day you break the cycle in your life in these failed marriages that's brought you to court for the 5th time. I want you to choose to break that cycle today.
Here is today's case.
He began telling me that he was a Navy SEAL. He told me that he worked for the governor of New Jersey as a security detail personnel. He said he was divorced.
This was in the first conversation the two of you had?
Yes, but I found out later that they were lying.
I felt I had to say something to impress her. I was so far deep in now with my lies.
It was just a lie after lie after lie.
She had an adult son living in the house as well.
That he hated.
I hated it because we're newlyweds. Her son couldn't keep a job. He having motorcycle accidents. And then on top of that, her daughter moved in.
So that caused a conflict in the marriage.
Conflict.
Miss Littlejohn, you brought a witness. Is this your daughter?
My daughter, yes.
Miss LaCour, what do you have to say about this case?
They got engaged probably about 3 months after they met. I felt like this all just happened too fast and they got married too soon, and I felt like they should have both took their time.
He also told me about one child that he has, and I found out later that he actually has 9 children.
You say the lies have continued and there's even been cheating.
Yes.
Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, as you know, for the first time on Divorce Court, we have a virtual audience, and it's filled with your superfans. Today's superfan of the day is Linda from Kansas City, Missouri.
Linda, welcome to Divorce Court. We're so happy to have you with us.
Your Honor, this is the case of Littlejohn versus Littlejohn.
Thank you, Juan. Miss Jaqueline Littlejohn,
Yes, Your Honor.
you have brought your husband, Mr. Richard Littlejohn,
Yes, Your Honor.
to divorce court today. The two of you have been married for 4.5 years.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you say he is a liar and a cheater, and you're ready to dissolve the marriage?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll hear from you first, ma'am. Tell me what's happening here.
Yes, Your Honor. This man is a liar, a cheater, manipulator, a narcissist. I'm done, and I want a divorce for him today.
Mr. Littlejohn, what do you have to say in response to that, sir?
Well, Your Honor, I love my wife. I want to save the marriage, but I want my wife to stop belittling me, stop questioning my integrity. And Your Honor, I want my wife to give me the opportunity to be a husband. If not, then I'm out.
Why don't you tell me what's been going on? Because you submitted a lot of paperwork in this case, some allegations that have been made. I understand you want to defend yourself.
Yes.
But why don't you take me back to the beginning? How did the two of you meet, and how have things come to a head the way they have today?
Well, Your Honor, I met Richard outside of my job. I was sitting out on my lunch hour, and he rode by in the truck with one of his family members. And he stepped over to me. After a few minutes, I was talking to his brother at first, and this was another part of the lies. But when he stepped up to me, he began telling me things about himself, that he was a Navy SEAL. He said he was divorced at first, and I found out later that was a lie. He told me that he worked for the governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, as a security detail personnel. I found out that was a lie later. And he also told me about one child that he has, and I found out later that he actually has 9 children.
This was in the first conversation the two of you had? He told you all these things about himself?
Yes, those are the things he told me, but I found out later that they were lies.
Did you tell her all those things?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
So were you working for Governor Christie at the time?
No, Your Honor.
In security?
No, Your Honor.
Why did you tell her you were?
Well, Your Honor, she was looking so nice sitting there, and I felt in my heart I had to say something to impress her, which I really wasn't interested in a relationship at that time until I really got to know her. But I was so far deep in now with my lies that I couldn't really come back and tell her the truth.
Why don't you just start with the truth?
Because I was just trying to impress, Your Honor.
What did you do for a living at the time?
At the time, I was on disability because I had multiple sclerosis and diabetes.
Okay.
So before then, I was a former personal trainer.
Okay.
But I felt as though I just had to impress. I was just shooting a little game at the time, Your Honor.
Did you tell her you were a former Navy SEAL?
Yeah, I told her that, Your Honor.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
And you told her you were divorced?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Were you divorced?
You know what? No, Your Honor, I wasn't divorced, but I was separated from the wife. The wife lived in Canada. I was here in the United States, so I was separated at the time. I wasn't divorced.
And you told her you had one child.
Yeah, I did.
And how many children do you actually have?
9.
9.
11 total. But I have custody. I have custody of one of my sons.
I mean, those aren't just lies, those are doozies. I mean, you started out just being completely dishonest about who you were as a person.
Yes, I did, Your Honor. I started out being totally dishonest.
Have you ever even met the governor of New Jersey?
I saw him before.
You said you were working security.
Yeah, I told her that.
Wow.
And I told her that because where I was living at the time, my apartment was facing his landing pad, like his helicopter where he landed at. So I told the wife, the wife now, I told her that I had to keep an eye when he calls, so whenever his landing pad come, I had to go out on my balcony in order to look over to make sure anything didn't happen to the governor. But I lied, Your Honor.
So you really thought the lie through?
Yeah.
Based on the fact that one of the windows in your apartment faces...
The balcony.
The balcony.
It was a whole balcony.
Of the governor's landing pad.
Yeah.
You went from that to you doing security.
Yeah, I did, Your Honor.
How do you find out that he has 11 children?
I found out about the children because social media. It came up on his Facebook page one day. Father's Day, I believe it was. One of his daughters posted a collage of pictures with all these children around it, and he was in the center.
When did you find out that Mr. Littlejohn did not work for the governor and was not a former Navy SEAL?
I found out about 4 or 5 months after we met. He came to live with me. And I started asking questions.
Well, so he left the governor's detail to live with you, you're saying?
No, I found out later. I never saw him go to work. That was the one thing that I figured was, he was just lying because he never suited up or anything, but he told me that the governor paid for him to stay in this government assistant apartment that he was living in, and that the governor paid for him to stay there so that when the governor flew in and out of town, Richard would be the security person at the time. He would walk out on his patio, and I guess he had the weapon or whatever, and he would have to look out to make sure no one was trying to do any harm to the governor.
Did you believe this?
I did.
So when he moved in with you, what did he say about his job?
I guess I just kind of let it go because, like, when I met him, he was a nice-looking guy, muscular, told me he was a personal trainer, that he was a Christian, which was very important to me. And I just kind of let that go as far as...
You just let it go?
Yes, I did.
That big security job he had, he ends up moving in with you 3 or 4 months later, and you just let the issue of his work go?
I did.
So he moves in with you. You see he's not going to work, as you say. What's the discussion then? How do you find out that he has 11 children?
I found out about the children because social media. It came up on his Facebook page one day. Father's Day, I believe it was. One of his daughters posted a collage of pictures with all these children around it, and he was in the center of the collage. So I asked him about it. I said, who are these all your children? Because she captioned it, Happy Father's Day with all the children. And that's when I was told the truth about the children. But he didn't believe they were all, he told me he didn't believe all of them were his children.
So you find out about all of this because this is not something insignificant, right? But he's living with you at the time. This was before you got married?
Yes.
So why do you make the decision at that point? Because he admits in court today that these are lies that he told you. He never actually told you the truth. You find it out on your own.
I had to find.
Why do you get married?
And that's the same thing I was questioning her about, Your Honor. If she know all of this
Really?
here, why would she want to get married? And it's the same thing. I question her about the same thing.
He never asked me.
That is a good question.
I did. I asked you.
So what was the reason, since Mr. Littlejohn had this question as well?
I loved him. I honestly, he had a 14-year-old son at the time, and I
But you didn't know who he was. How could you love him when you found out before you married him that you didn't know who he was because he'd lied to you?
I didn't know who he was at the time. I found out later who he was after we got married.
I'm not trying to come down on you about this. I'm just really curious because these are not insignificant lies. This is a big deal.
Yes, Your Honor.
And like what we say in the business, whoppers.
When somebody proposed before you can get married, you need to see divorce papers. So I asked him for the divorce papers. For some reason, he could never produce them. He didn't know where they were. The ex-wife in Canada had them. So it was just a lie after lie after lie.
So how did you find out that he was still married?
I contacted the ex-wife.
What did she tell you? If you'd like your case to be heard on divorce court, call us toll-free 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com. Miss the show? Watch full episodes on our streaming platforms and follow us on social media for exclusive content. This is a big deal.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you find this out before you decide to get married. You just look past all of these things because you said you loved him.
The lies I found out after. I'm going to go back. When he told me he was divorced, I had to find out because he proposed to me within 4 months of us meeting. He asked me to marry him.
No, Your Honor. It was actually 6 months.
Okay, whether it was 4 or
wasn't
6,
4.
what happened?
Yeah.
When somebody proposed, before you can get married, you need to see divorce papers. So I asked him for the divorce papers. For some reason, he could never produce them. He didn't know where they were. The ex-wife in Canada had them. So it was just a lie after lie after lie.
So how did you find out that he was still married?
I contacted the ex-wife.
What did she tell you?
She told me they weren't divorced. That she had asked Richard to file for the divorce because he was on government assistance at the time and it wouldn't cost anything.
Eventually, you filed for divorce, obviously, because the two of you got married.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you find out about all of these things and you still get married. And lo and behold, we end up in divorce court.
In Your Honor.
Years later. So now the two of you are married.
Yes.
And you say the lies have continued and there's even been cheating.
Yes.
And that's why you're here today. What happened?
Your Honor, you know, as we progress into our relationship, things did get I admit things did get a little better. But what happened at the time, she had an adult son living in the house as well.
That he hated.
Which that cost, yeah, I hate it because we're newlyweds.
You hated my children.
No, I don't hate your children. I like your children. I don't have anything against your children. I don't hate them. But no adult kid should be living in the house with newlyweds. We gave her son the opportunity to get himself together in order to move out of the house, you know, but he couldn't keep a job. He having motorcycle accidents. And then on top of that, her daughter moved in. Now, take it as they all in their late 30s, and we're newlyweds. And it was posing a problem because I was saying they're not even paying bills. They're staying here and not paying bills. That's not right.
So that caused a conflict in the marriage.
It caused a conflict, and it caused us to argue and, you know, get into all different types of argument with each other and conflicts and calling each other names.
Did she tell you about her children before you got married? So you knew about hers?
Yes, she told me that her kids were staying there. I was all right, but she said her kids supposed to be moving out. But my thing was I didn't see any progress moving out, or she had a problem with getting him to pay bills when he did have a job.
Who was paying the bills?
Your Honor, I was.
And me.
He was not working when I met him.
You both were?
Both of us, yes.
What percentage of the bills do you say you were paying?
Well, Your Honor, I was paying maybe 20 or 30% of the bills at the time.
And she was paying 70 to 80%?
Yes.
Did that ever change over the course of 4.5 years?
First of all, that's a lie, Your Honor. I've been employed with my job at that time for 30 years. I had a very good job. He moved in, he was on public assistance. He would give me a few dollars, you know, to help out, and he would buy some groceries here and there, but he did not pay any of the bills until after we got married. Now, since he started working a year ago, he's contributing towards the bills. but he was not paying bills before he started working.
Okay, so you said you've been paying 20 to 30% of
Yes,
bills.
Your Honor, and that's the truth, Your Honor. I never received public assistance. I worked all my life. It's that I became disabled. And
You were on disability.
I was
so
on
let's
disability.
clear that up.
That's not public assistance.
Okay.
That's something I earned.
So let's just be clear. You were on disability. You said you contributed 20 to 30% of the bills.
Yes,
you
I
said
did.
that you
and
paid
that was
a lot
before
more.
I moved in our house and got married. I was helping
So
her.
the main reason you say you're here today and that you want a divorce is because you said that Mr. Littlejohn is a liar and he's also cheated in the last 4.5 years. And you brought a witness you want me to hear from. Is this your daughter?
My daughter, yes.
What do you have to say about this case and the testimony you've heard so far?
Well, first of all, when my mom and Richard met, they got engaged probably about 3 months after they met. I felt like that was too soon. I didn't feel like she knew enough about him to even, consider getting married to him. It all just happened too fast and they got married too soon, and I felt like they should have both took their time.
You brought a witness you want me to hear from. Is this your daughter?
My daughter, yes.
Okay, Carissa?
Carissa, yes.
Carissa LaCour. Carissa LaCour, are you with us today?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Ms. LaCour, I have Mr. and Mrs. Littlejohn in court today. I understand that Mrs. Littlejohn is your mother. I'd like to hear from you, ma'am. What do you have to say about this case and the testimony you've heard so far?
Well, first of all, when my mom and Richard met, they got engaged probably about 3 months after they met. I felt like that was too soon. I didn't feel like she knew enough about him to even, consider getting married to him. And then, she told me about, him working for the governor. And I didn't have a reason not to believe it at first, but it did sound a little fishy to me. And, I just thought it all just happened too fast and they got married too soon. And I felt like they should have both took their time. And honestly, and as far as what he said about us living there, I don't feel as though we had anything to do with any conflict in their marriage, first of all. And secondly, while I was staying with my mom, I was saving up to buy my house, and I was paying my mom, and I was contributing to the household. So as far as him saying that we weren't contributing, I wasn't contributing, that's not true. My mom confides in me a lot. She tells me a lot about the lies that he tells, and she's really fed up with it, and I just want to see my mom happy. She deserves to be happy. She deserves better. And it's no point in staying in a marriage where you're miserable.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. LaCour.
Thank you.
We're going to take a brief recess. Court is adjourned.
Next time on Divorce Court.
I found a phone in my nightstand. I knew it wasn't his phone. And I saw a picture of a young lady. So I called the young lady up. She mentioned that she had met him through Plenty of Fish. I submitted the profile of his Plenty of Fish account.
I'm retired military. That's a lie.
But Your Honor,
Former personal trainer. A divorced father. That's a lie.
I also found a Western Union receipt in my bedroom.
Who is Melania?
that was my mistress.
The two of you obviously have a conversation. This woman, Melania, responds, "Oh yes, he told me he was on a secret mission in Germany." I'm gonna tell you something. That is dishonoring the men and women who put on that uniform. You going around telling people you're retired military. That is shameful. You should be embarrassed.
Well,
so
Your Honor,
now,
but you should be able to hear both sides.
Mr.
It's always a
Littlejohn,
couple sides.
I need you to get out of my courtroom, sir. One, escort him out.